Hello and welcome to the Calmcast, a time to feel calm and think clearly. I'm Claire Downham, the Queen of Calm, a transformational life coach. I was a burnt out head teacher who finally made the journey to calm after years of trying, and I want to prevent you from having to do the same. The Calmcast is a series of short explorations, gently guiding you back to your natural state, which is calm and clarity. Just listen like you would listen to music, with an open mind and curiosity. There's nothing else to do. Now let's relax into today's episode. So today we're going to consider how we define ourselves. Because we do, don't we? Pretty much unavoidably, we create this idea of who we think we are. And it pervades every single aspect of our lives. It's there to be seen, but quite often we absolutely do not see it at all, understandably, because we're talking about the most powerful creative force in the universe, the power of thought. So we all have an experience of our own feelings and thoughts and behaviours. Day in, day out, we are experiencing ourselves, and we use that information to very innocently and difficult to see, we use that information to define who we are and who we think we are. So, for example, if already you have a definition of yourself as anxious or having anxiety, then your experience of an uncomfortable, angry butterfly feeling, as one of my clients used to call it, angry butterfly feeling in your stomach, if your heart starts pounding, if you're shaking, that will feed into that definition of you. It's the same with our thinking. If you think that you've got too much negative thinking, or you're not grateful enough, or you think bad things about other people, whatever it is, the story that you've got about yourself, then you will notice more and more of those kinds of thoughts, the ones you think you are. And it's the same with our behaviour. If I think I'm greedy, for example, I will notice that I eat too much, or I eat too fast, or I do eat too fast actually, but anyway, apparently. So all that is happening day in and day out without us really knowing that it's happening. And we use that information, the information about our feelings and our thoughts and our behaviour, to decide that we're this kind of person, with this kind of personality, we've got these kind of labels and conditions and mental illnesses or whatever else it is that we're using that information to sort of feed into that definition. So here's the first place where we can start to just go, hang on a minute, because that's all we're doing here. We're just generally saying, hang on a minute, how is that working? And how it's working is that the entity that is being defined is being defined by itself, because it's all part of the thought process, isn't it? So it's all part of the same process. We experience our feeling and we think that means something about us, but it's the same thinking that's defining that feeling as meaning, is feeding that feeling into the definition. It's the same entity. It's the same set of thinking. It's the same conditioned thoughts that we collected way back and have added to over the years. But how easy is that to do, to see that in ourselves, to see the thing that we believe about ourselves? Really easy, Because the other thing to know is that there is a narrowing down. Immediately we believe something to be true, whether that's about us or the outside world, but we're going to talk about mostly about us today. As soon as there's a belief, I'm this kind of person, there's a very clever system just deleting all the information that says otherwise. So if you believe that you're anxious, throughout the day, throughout the hour even, you will notice your anxious moments and you won't really notice the moments when you're calm. They just get kind of deleted, really. They just don't get seen. They don't get experienced. We just discount them, or we don't even notice them at all, because there's so much information coming into our awareness on a moment by moment basis. And we can only really, there's millions of bits of information. We can handle about 50 at a time, 50 per second, let's say. I don't know the exact figures, but that is how our system is working all the time. So what we can start to do with this is to bring some awareness to how this system is working. The less we think about the specifics of us, the better, because of course, as soon as we start to think about the specifics of us, we are bringing with us that defining being, that defining entity of thought. We're just bringing that with us. We're bringing it into the perception that we have. And that's why it's not so helpful to talk too much about ourselves, but to talk about this system and how it's working. To talk about and get curious about how we are defining ourselves, how we might hear other people defining themselves. And as we begin to do this, things start to just shift. We start to notice that we're less bothered by that which passes through our head. We're less bothered by our feelings, less bothered by our thoughts, and less bothered by our behaviours. And what we might think is, oh, well, they'll never change then, look, because we're not working on them. We're not making them change. I don't like these feelings and these thoughts and these behaviours, so I actually want to change them. But what you're seeing and what you don't like is so disproportionate. It's so out of proportion. It's not true. It's just how we're seeing the world. So we can start to just hold it all a little bit lighter, not perhaps feel quite so attached to it all. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but it's not helping. Maybe you've been looking at a particular way of feeling or thinking or behaving and worked on it for a really long time. And it's still there. And it still looks like it's part of you, and it still looks like it's permanent. And it's still, because you've tried lots of things to get rid of it, it looks like it's who you really are, that this definition you have of yourself is true. But it really isn't the thoughts, the feelings, or the behaviour that matter. It's that we think that means something about us, that we think that defines who we are. And underneath all this thinking about who we are and all this noticing of the things we don't like about ourselves, underneath all that, there is something beautiful. There is who you really are. The closest that you will see that is in a small child, that innocent energy, that resilience, that confidence, that clarity, out of the mouths of babes. What do they say? And we go, whoa. That intuition, that lust for life, all of that is underneath this definition created through thought that we've made for ourselves. And as we start to see through it, as we start to take those thoughts and feelings and behaviours less seriously and realise they don't really mean anything about us, they're just what's happening in the moment, they start to fall away, and we can reconnect to that which is what we are truly made of. So hopefully I've not completely blown your minds this morning in this talk. So yeah, just get curious as always, just notice. Thank you so much for listening. There's nothing to do now but bring some awareness to how this is working out in your life. Listen regularly to experience longer and longer periods of calm. This has been the Calmcast with Claire Downham, Queen of Calm. Take care and keep listening.